Festival of Lights by Camille Bagyapo. To grow up in Iponan is to learn stubborn resistance. After devastating flood, we rebuilt, erasing traces of the disaster. It was during my senior year on a Saturday afternoon. I'm in high school when my mother called me out on my lack of ambition.
Don't you want to study outside CDO?
She asked. When it was the season of application and entrance tests, I only took familiar colleges. When my batchmates were dreaming of Ateneo de Manila, I planted my feet on the ground and told myself that those fantasies weren't worth chasing. I suppose I should apologize to my mother, whose expectations for me were not as out of reach as I thought. Though, there's no use in trying to change the past. Back then, my ambition was on total different project. Growing up in Iponan meant that we were far from the city center. We were on the edge of the city. There were only a handful of jeeps that would take the route, entering and exiting out to transfer us to the city. I had to wake up at 5 in the morning, drag myself to the jeepney stop, and wait. When the jeep arrives, I sat on the far end trying to get at least a few minutes of sleep while we wait for it to fill up. I was half awake when she entered the jeep. She had 2 braids and smelled like juicy cologne. She spotted the school seal on the breast pocket of my uniform, and upon recognition, she sat down next to me. Her name was Carmela. She was beautiful, the type of beautiful that I thought could only be seen in teleseries my Lola forced me to watch. When she smiled at me, it was like my blood was awakened. Every day, her smile was like a cup of coffee.
Carmela Concilio.
Tonton.
I thought to wipe my hand because of how sweaty it was. It would have been a disaster, but I was saved when the jeep roared to life and sped. Carmela fell on me. She smelled like candy. I sent a silent prayer to God, eyes up at the jeepney ceiling, thanking Him for inertia. She pushed herself off me. I think she was trying to hide her blush. The friendship bloomed after that. We greet each other at the makeshift jeepney stop. I saw her at her most beautiful, always. Other mornings, she would yawn, move closer, and lean her head against my shoulder. My favorite mornings, however, are those when she runs. She will squirm in her seat, fingers tapping on her knees, as she whispers to me her frustrations. As always, arguments about her family, something about her brother. She told me about him, who after every few months always has a new girlfriend wrapped around his fingers. She huffed, complaining how her parents let her brother do whatever he wanted, while she could barely stay 30 minutes past curfew.
They're just looking out for you. Take it from me.
Boys are very stupid.
She perked up. She turned to meet my eye. The light hit her eyes just right that it made her brown irises turn to gold.
Yeah. You're the only good one, Tonton.
I wrapped my arm around her shoulders as she leaned against me. I tried to calm myself down, or else Carmela could feel my heart beating too fast. I was her friend. I couldn't hurt her even if I tried. It seemed like she was only mine in the mornings. With my arm wrapped around her shoulders, we looked like lovers. It was our own little world. When the tongue started to talk about the upcoming Festival of Lights, I knew this was my chance. The festival happens on the first new moon of the summer. It was based on the legend. Some say it happened, but no one is sure. I remembered Lola telling me and all my cousins, and every reunion turned sleepover. All I could recall were 2 lovers, Adaptation and a voyager's daughter. The moon was involved and a dragon. Something about the gods proclaiming that their love was true. Though in Iponan, when you ask anyone about the festival, they will always point their lips at my lolo. On the day of the festival, with the bracelet in my pocket, my mother had the worst timing in the world.
I have to leave. There's an emergency meeting out of town, and I can't be home until tomorrow morning. Take care of your lolo, Tonton.
But I'm going to the festival.
It's alright, Estrella. I can take care of myself.
Tay, you almost burned the house down when you were cooking rice.
I was watering your mother's flowers.
Tay, you can't be by yourself. Tonton could take you with him to the festival instead.
All the windows and doors were locked. When Lolo went past the gate, I already knew he was out of breath. I know it was cruel of me to be so impatient with a man 20 times my age. I couldn't help it. A world which only lived in my imaginations was one step into becoming a reality. I had to reach Carmela in time. The fireflies will glow around us and the old legend will be reborn again. I knew my world will change that night. We reached the plaza. A man with a black cape and a wooden mask went on the stage. He carried a large dark crate and placed it on the stage. The electricity was cut, and we waited in the dark, but the fireflies never came. People started to cry in agony, but a man started to chant. His voice is deep as it came from the depths of the earth itself. The people gathered around him. Some started to flash their flashlights at him, but they quickly turned it off when the man bent over, cupping his hands. When his chanting was over, and he opened his palms, and there was a lone firefly. It flew up in the cold air. It shone in the air in lazy circles. He was the fireman, and he brings the fireflies every year. He opens his crate, and the fireflies fly out of the sky. And I knew that my clock was ticking.
Go.
Are you sure?
You like a concilious girl? I see you looking at her during your graduation. Go. I'll be fine. Goryo is probably here, somewhere.
Thank you, Lolo.
Lola pat my back and I tried not to wince at the pain. I left him behind, scanning the crowd for Carmela. The lights have already been out and the fireflies were my only guide. I was about to call out her name when I see her brother's pinch-faced, a full foot taller than the crowd. I knew that where Eric was, Carmela can't be far away. I made my way through the crowds. Eric was talking to his girl, but Carmela was standing dutifully by his side. She's staring at the fireflies with tears in her eyes. She lowered her eyes and she saw me.
Tonton! Is he gone?
Yeah.
I need to thank Ate Ara later. I can't believe I can have one night to myself.
Carmela, I saw this bracelet the other day, and I want you to have it.
Thank you. Thank you, Tonton. This is beautiful, Tonton. I'll cherish this forever.
Carmela,
I'll wear this every day to remember you by.
what?
I got accepted to San Carlos. I wanted to tell you during the graduation, but you weren't there.
You're busy with your friends.
It's graduation. I was looking for you.
I thought you were accepted to Xavier, remember? You told me during the jeep to school.
I am, but I chose San Carlos instead. Tonton, I've been complaining to you for 4 straight years. If I had the chance to leave this place, I'd take it.
I nodded my head since I had nothing left to say. She shook her wrist and watched the pendant gleam under the light. She wrapped her arm around mine. She talked about her plans. She talked of scholarship applications, dormitories, and her tentative schedule. I nodded at the appropriate times. I was still trying to accept it. All I knew was that the world I've built, the future I planned for, was swept under the current. Later, the fireflies were still flying, but the children are being carried by their mothers back. I tried to find my Lolo. I walked up the steps leading to the old church. I had an inkling that he would be there to smoke. Smoking was prohibited during the festival because it killed the fireflies. I found him sitting on a stone bench, smoking under a dying mango sapling. I made his way toward him. I sat behind him, feeling the rise and fall of his chest.
Carmela is leaving to study for Cebu.
Good for her. You believe in those stories, didn't you? About me and your grandmother. You know that wasn't true. Well, not all of it. We were about to break up. Your Lola and me. We were in the bad place. What we were fighting about, I can't remember anymore. All I knew was that it was the end. So, I took her to the festival, give her one last happy memory. But the fireflies, your Lola never knew about the legend. It was only after that she knew. Never really believed in that stuff. Just a schoolgirls, you know? I asked her, after how many years, why she decided to stay with me that night.
What did she say?
Said that when she saw the firefly, she saw hope.
I miss Lola.
Me too, Tonton. Me too. Don't worry though. I'll be with her soon.
Then suddenly, my heart tightened as if it was wrung and pried out of my chest. Tears stung in the back of my eyes. Then out of nowhere, the sobs racked my body. It scared me how I cried. I remember asking myself, is this it? Is this what heartbreak felt like? Then I felt Lolo's arms, scooping me from my seat and onto his lap. I felt like a child, clinging to him while he rocked. He patted my back with a surprising gentleness. When the sobs ebbed, I pried my eyes open. Then I saw it, a single dot of yellow, making its way in the darkness. And then another, and another, and another, and another, and another.